Hi, Dr. Kristen Bryant Rajan here. I am in the process of putting up some video lectures on literature because I teach literature. But, I also facilitate happiness workshops. And in these times, I thought it might be interesting, helpful, applicable to share some information about happiness. I research happiness and share my discoveries with others, not because I'm happy all the time, but because I want to learn the ways to be happier. Of late, my interest and research and personal exploration has revolved around fear. So I am sharing these reflections today, not because I have conquered fear, but because I am deeply fearful and want to share some of the insights that I've had with you. This is not to say that once you understand the components of fear, you will be able to release it and it will never revisit you again. It takes constant practice, um, constant work. I do know that one of the components of happiness is the ability to learn from every experience. You know that the growth and self evolution do not happen in comfort zones. They happen when we are most uncomfortable. At this time, during the coronavirus, we are all deeply, deeply, deeply uncomfortable. So, so it's a time that's rich for growth, and I just want to share some of the revelations I've had about fear with you. These came to me one morning upon waking. Every morning, since there's no great rush to get out and rush to get dressed and commute to the office, each morning I lie in bed and reflect on what the hell is going on. And this particular morning, I started to really probe fear and what it is, and where it takes us and what that's all about. And so I immediately, in those moments, just started writing about what came to mind. And by the end of my writing, I was in a very peaceful place. I'm going to share some of that writing with you. But again, I need to emphasize it is not to say that the fear is going to go away and never come back, because shortly after that, I went to help my daughter move out of her college dorm. The stairwells were locked, so we had to take the elevator. I had just read that the virus can stay alive on hard surfaces for up to perhaps 9 days. So while I was in this very small elevator with these hard surfaces, I began to reflect on everyone else who had been in that elevator for the last 9 days. And I would have started to hyperventilate, except I was trying not to breathe because I could imagine the germs everywhere. This is to say that I forgot all the lessons I learned about fear. So I'm having to learn these lessons again and again and again. I'm not immune, but I do feel that this is a time that is ripe for learning and self evolution. And I do believe that fear can never take us to a helpful place. I actually feel, I know that fear takes us to a very dark place, and we're not as productive, um, we're not as communicative, and we're definitely not as loving as we can be with fear. This is not to say that I think it's important not to be knowledgeable as we can be about this virus. It's still important to take precautions, to wash our hands, to keep a safe distance, to listen to the scientists. I am not talking about reckless abandon and having no fear. I'm talking about turning inward and learning what fear is, but still taking precautions, still listening to science because it touches everybody. You know, nobody is immune or safe from it. No race, class, gender, economic status, no matter how fit you are, whether you eat a lot of avocados or not. Nobody is immune. And I think that makes it almost more valuable because it's universal. It touches all of us and we can all learn from it. And our fear, and I think this is useful too, when we're fearful for others, when we fear for our children, which as parents we often do, somehow we can hide behind a mask of oh, I'm being compassionate. I care. I fear for my child because I care for my child. But what's so interesting is fear is not love. As a matter of fact, it actually makes it more difficult to love. So, fearing for others, fearing for ourselves is not helping anyone. It's particularly not helping ourselves. So, fear is debilitating, it's isolating, it prevents action. Fear is moving away from the present moment into a future that we are creating with our minds. It is a future of stress, anxiety, worry, darkness, the great negative unknown. And then that stress, anxiety, worry enters into our present. What's really interesting to me is that fear, that ultimately what we fear most is death, right? When we're like moving ahead, when we're projecting into some negative future, when we're thinking about this virus, we're thinking about death. But what's ironic is that when we move away from the present moment into our projected fears of death, we lose the present moment. And that's kind of what death is, not being alive in the present moment is a kind of death. In a sense, we're killing ourselves every time that we get swept up in fear. So the key is to bring your awareness back to when you're doing that. When you become curious about, so what is going on here? Where is my mind going here? That curiosity changes the emotion. You become less reactive, less impulsive, more inquisitive, and that curiosity brings you back to this moment. When you are completely present, everything is manageable, everything is possible. Your life is enriched. The moment is better. I think it's further interesting that this time of the coronavirus is happening in March, the most beautiful season, one of the four most beautiful seasons ever, but everything is in bloom. Everything is gorgeous. It's a beautiful time of year. So when we come back to the present, we can see that beauty again. When we're swept up in the darkness, we're blinded to or blinded to what's right in front of us. Consequently, we're not able to not only not see the beauty, but we're not able um, to communicate in effective ways. All reactions from fear are not going to be productive. They can range in anything from irritability with the children, with the pets, with the spouse, um, to much more dramatically negative reactions. Ultimately, I think that wars, um, crimes, everything disastrous stems from some element of fear. So, getting in touch with fear, what that is key. Enriches the moment and will prevent a lot of negativity down the road. So, you know that you're swept up in fear when everything's out of balance or when anything is out of balance. Um, Buying too much, eating too much, sleeping too much, drinking too much, any act of excess is an act out of fear in some way. It's interesting in the happiness workshops, we talk about the posture. There are postures that illustrate and actually promote happiness and well-being, and they are more open. Um, Sitting up straight, having your arms open, having your face open, a smile. All of these things activate neurons in the brain that promote well-being. The opposite is true too. When you are fearful or defensive or negative, hateful, resentful, all of these are kind of closed postures, and we find ourselves turning within. Fear, as we've already discussed, is the complete turning within, to the point that you lose touch with reality. You've lost yourself in an inward kind of nightmare. Your eyes are closed to what's right in front of you. So think about the postures of peace, contentment, and open yourself up. You can do this with your breath. I mean, your breath is the key to bringing you back to the present. It is a deep, intentional breath into the belly, holding it within your body and feeling the energy of the breath, and then slowly exhaling, more slowly than you inhaled, actually. Feeling your body relax completely with the exhalation. And then, and this is really, really the key, taking a moment in that complete peace after the exhalation, before the inhalation, and just appreciating that stillness, you will feel your body completely relax. I'll have a separate segment solely on breathing to promote this feeling and to help you tap it at any points. But what's most important is for you to know that at those moments when you are losing yourself, and that is truly what it is, you have lost yourself in fear. That is not you. That is something else. You can bring yourself back with your breath, get present, take note of where you are in this moment and what is happening in this moment. This dogwood outside my window is fully in bloom, and it's beautiful. And I don't see it when I'm swept up in, I'm going to die from the coronavirus. My house is full of pets and kids and and we have enough in this moment. And if your house is not full of pets and kids, let me give you a pet. No, I'm just kidding. Appreciate the moment. Appreciate the stillness. Appreciate the season. And when you are completely still, when you are completely in the moment, you will tap in to this energy that flows throughout us, throughout every human being, throughout the universe. That is what love is. That is what peace is. That is true wellness, and you have access to it every moment. The key is to just bring yourself back to the breath. Honestly, I'm just reminding you of what you've known all along. We need to continue to remind ourselves of the simplicity of this. It is so simple. It is so much less complicated than where we go when we project into fear. So come back to this as needed. I will have more talks about other components of happiness. Know that you're not alone. Know that this is a valuable time to understand fear, but the lessons that you learn will stay with you, and everything will get easier. I am sending all of you well wishes. We are all interconnected, and I'm feeling that. I'm grateful for it. Thank you.